The wolfsbane burned going down. Cassandra Morgrave drained the last of her suppressant tea in the pre-dawn darkness, feeling the toxic brew scald her throat and settle like acid in her stomach. Her wolf recoiled from the poison, whimpering deep in her consciousness, retreating further into the locked cage where Cass had kept her imprisoned for 5 years. Good. Let her whimper. Let her hide. Better a caged wolf than a weapon someone else could wield. The mountain cold seeped through the thin walls of her frontier clinic, but Cass barely felt it. Shifter metabolism ran hot. Even suppressed, even caged, her wolf kept her warmer than the oil heater struggling in the corner ever could. She set the empty cup on the nightstand beside her narrow cot. Checked her watch. 4 hours and 17 minutes since the last dose. The suppressant used to last 12 hours, then 10, then 8. Now she was lucky to get 4. Her wolf was getting stronger, fighting harder against the chemical chains. Or maybe Cass was just getting weaker. 52 years old. 5 years of poisoning herself daily. Eventually, even shifter biology broke down under that kind of abuse. She swung her legs off the cot, boots already laced because emergencies in mining towns did not wait for you to dress properly. Her hands trembled as she lit the oil lamp. Not from cold, from her wolf stirring beneath her skin, testing the suppressant's hold, looking for weaknesses. Finding them, pounding erupted at the clinic door. Urgent, desperate. The kind of knock that meant someone was dying and she was the last hope they had. Cass crossed the clinic's main room, her enhanced senses already cataloging information before she reached the door. Blood scent. Fresh. Arterial spray. Male shifter, young, pain and fear rolling off him in waves that penetrated even wooden walls. No, not shifter. Human. Her mistake. The suppressant was dulling her senses more than she realized. She opened the door to controlled chaos. 3 miners supported a 4th between them, his left arm hanging by threads of muscle and shredded skin. Bone fragments gleamed white in the lamplight. The damage was catastrophic, the kind of injury that usually came from industrial accidents or predator attacks. "Cave bear," the lead miner gasped before she could ask. "Hibernation den collapsed. Thing came out fighting mad, tore through half our crew before we brought it down." Cass pulled them inside, her wolf suddenly alert despite the wolfsbane coursing through her veins. Bear. Predator. Threat. The animal part of her brain cataloging danger even as her human mind shifted into triage mode. She had the injured man on her surgical table within seconds, shearing away his mangled sleeve with medical scissors. The arm was barely attached. Normal human medicine would require immediate amputation. Even with shifter healing, the damage was severe enough that recovery would take months. But she was not a normal healer. She could save the arm completely. All it would take was one controlled shift, one moment of letting her Eclipse Wolf abilities flow through her hands. She had done it hundreds of times during the war. Battlefield medicine when conventional treatment was not enough. Before she learned that having power made you valuable. And valuable things got used, got weaponized, got ordered to kill 40,000 people. "Hold him down," she commanded. The miners obeyed. She administered morphine through an IV line, knowing it would barely touch pain this severe. Then she began the manual work. Surgical wire to stabilize bone fragments, sutures to reconnect severed vessels. Her hands moved with the practiced precision of someone who had reconstructed shattered bodies on dozens of battlefields. But her wolf was screaming inside her consciousness, demanding release, demanding to heal properly instead of this slow, painful human method. Cass crushed the demand down ruthlessly. No, not ever again. She had sworn 5 years ago when she walked out of that military prison. No more using her gifts as weapons. No more letting others exploit what she could do, even if it meant watching people suffer when she could heal them instantly. Halfway through the surgery, she felt the first cramp. Low in her abdomen, sharp, unmistakable. No, not now, not here. Heat cycle. Cass's hands did not shake. Years of battlefield surgery had trained that instinct out of her. But her wolf surged against its cage, recognizing what was happening. Biological imperative. The curse of Eclipse Wolf bloodlines. She was 52 years old. Most female shifters finished their heat cycles in their late 40s. Should have been safe. Should have been done with the biological madness that turned rational women into creatures driven by pure breeding instinct. But Eclipse wolves were different. Her rare bloodline did not follow normal shifter biology. The same genetics that let her hide her scent, that let her absorb and heal injuries also kept her fertile decades past normal shifter menopause. Evolution's way of preserving the rarest wolf line in existence. Another cramp hit, stronger. Her scent began to leak despite the suppressant in her system. The human miners did not notice, but if any shifters were within a mile, they would scent her soon. And an unmated female in heat was a beacon that would draw every male within range. She finished the surgery in record time, bandaged the reconstructed arm, gave aftercare instructions that the miners would probably ignore. They paid in company scrip and helped their friend out into the pre-dawn darkness, leaving Cass alone in her clinic with her failing suppressant and her rising heat. She stood at the window, breathing hard, feeling her control slipping with every heartbeat. 6 hours. Maybe less. That was how long she had before the heat hit full force and turned her feral. Before biology overrode everything else and left her a creature of pure instinct. She needed isolation. Needed to get to the abandoned mine shaft 3 miles up the mountain, seal herself inside, ride it out alone. The emergency pack was already prepared. She had maintained it for 5 years, always knowing this day would come. Food, water, more suppressant that would not work. And at the bottom, wrapped in oilcloth, a vial of her own blood, preserved from before the war, when her Eclipse Wolf abilities had been at full strength. Emergency medical supply, in case she needed to heal herself when the heat faded and left her broken. She grabbed the pack and moved. Outside, dawn was breaking over the mountains, gray light painting the snow-covered peaks. Beautiful, deceptive. The kind of morning that made you forget how easily this wilderness could kill you. Cass made it half a mile up the trail before her wolf started howling, not in pain, in recognition. Alpha, close, powerful, moving toward her with the controlled precision of a born hunter. She turned, her wolf instinct screaming warnings even as her heat spiked higher at the scent of a strong male nearby. He stood 50 yards down the trail, massive. 6.5 feet of pure predator wrapped in combat leathers and controlled violence. Dark hair shot through with silver at the temples, face carved from granite and hard decisions. Eyes that glowed amber even in human form. Alpha King. Cassandra knew who he was before he spoke. Everyone in the Northern Territories knew Marcus Vane. Supreme Commander of the Iron Wall Dominion. The most powerful alpha on the continent. The shifter who commanded armies and held territory through sheer force of will. The male whose mate and daughter she had killed 20 years ago. Dr. Cassandra Morgrave. His voice was a rumble that seemed to vibrate through the ground beneath her feet, through her bones, through the mate bond that should not exist but was suddenly screaming to life in her chest. You are a very difficult woman to find. Another heat cramp hit. Cass doubled over, gasping. Her scent spiked catastrophically, the suppressant completely failing. 5 years of chemical control burning away in seconds. She saw Marcus's nostrils flare. Saw his eyes flash from amber to pure molten gold. Saw his entire body go rigid as her Eclipse Wolf scent hit him. Heat, unmated female, fertile, available. His wolf responding to hers on the most primal level possible. You need to leave, Cass forced out through gritted teeth. Now, before this gets complicated. It is already complicated. Marcus took a step forward. His movements were controlled, but she could see the tension in every muscle. The way his wolf was riding close to the surface. My nephew is dying. You are the only Eclipse Wolf alive who can save him. You will come with me, willingly or in chains. I am going into heat, full feral cycle. In approximately 4 hours, I will be completely non-functional. You do not want to be anywhere near me when that happens. My convoy is at the base of the mountain. We can have you in a secure facility within 2 hours. Isolation chamber, medical staff. You can ride out your cycle there, then you heal my nephew. Cass laughed. It came out more growl than human sound. You think you can just lock me in a room and wait it out? I am an unmated female going into heat. You are an unmated alpha male. Do you have any concept of what biology will do to us both? I know exactly what will happen, which is why you will come now, while you still have control, or I will carry you myself and deal with the consequences. He moved. One moment he was 50 yards away. The next he was directly in front of her, faster than any shifter she had ever encountered. His hand closed around her wrist. Not rough, not gentle, just absolutely certain. The contact sent electricity through Cass's entire nervous system. Her wolf, which had been caged for 5 years, suddenly surged, not fighting, recognizing. Mate! No, this could not be happening. Mate bonds were rare. 1 in 10,000 shifters ever found their true mate. The one wolf whose genetics aligned perfectly with theirs, whose scent called to their wolf on levels beyond conscious control. And they absolutely did not find that mate while going into heat after killing the male's first family. But her wolf did not care about logic, did not care about war crimes or grief or 20 years of hate. Her wolf only knew, this is mate, this is alpha, this is safety. And worse, infinitely worse, his wolf knew it too. She saw it in the way his pupils dilated, the way his grip on her wrist tightened fractionally, the way his scent shifted from predator stalking prey to something far more dangerous. Male recognizing his mate. "You killed my family," Marcus said quietly. His voice was utterly controlled, but underneath she heard leashed violence, decades of rage barely contained. "You deployed a biological weapon that murdered my mate and my 8-year-old daughter, 40,000 others. I have spent 20 years hunting you. I swore an oath to kill you when I found you." "Then do it." Cass met his eyes. "Because the alternative is worse. The alternative is you saving my nephew's life, then spending the rest of your existence making amends for what you did." Another cramp drove her to her knees. Marcus caught her before she hit the rocky trail, lifted her with the ease of an alpha handling a much smaller wolf. She tried to fight, tried to shift, but the suppressant had weakened her too much. All she managed was partial claws that shredded his sleeve but did not reach skin. "Stop fighting," he commanded. Alpha voice, irresistible to any lesser wolf. "You are coming with me. We can do this conscious or unconscious, your choice." "You do not understand." Cass gasped against his chest, his scent overwhelming her. Pine and snow, an ancient predator. Everything her heat-crazed wolf wanted. The mate bond. It does not care about our history. It does not care that you hate me. Biology will not give us a choice. If you take me to your territory while this heat is building, we will bond whether we want to or not. Then I will control it. You cannot control the mate bond. Watch me." He carried her down the mountain like she weighed nothing, her emergency pack over his shoulder, her body locked against his chest, every step sending waves of heat and recognition through her system, her wolf howling in a mixture of terror and need. The convoy waited at the base of the mountain. Military-grade vehicles, armed guards, and standing beside the lead transport, looking uncertain and guilty, was the last person Cass expected to see. Colonel Vera Tannen, her former executive officer, the woman who had testified against her at the war crimes trial 20 years ago. "Cass," Vera said quietly. "You brought her?" Cass managed between cramps. Her vision was starting to haze red around the edges, the heat building. "You brought the woman who sent me to prison?" "I brought the woman who knows your medical history better than anyone alive," Marcus said. "You will need support during the heat cycle," she volunteered. He deposited Cass in the back of the transport. Medical setup, IV bags, cooling equipment, and restraints. Heavy duty. The kind designed to hold an alpha in full rage. "Those will not work," Cass said through gritted teeth. "Not once the heat peaks. They will work long enough." Marcus climbed in after her. Vera followed, the transport doors sealed. "We are 3 hours from Ashfall Conclave, neutral territory. Medical facilities designed to contain rogue shifters. You will be secure there." The convoy started moving. Cass felt the heat building in waves now, her skin hypersensitive, her clothes feeling like sandpaper, every breath drawing in Marcus's scent and making her wolf howl with need and recognition. "Mate, mate, mate!" She looked at Marcus, really looked, saw the tension in his jaw, the white knuckle grip on the transport rail, the way he was deliberately not looking at her. He felt it too. The pull, the biological imperative that did not care about murder or grief or 20 years of hunting. "Your nephew," Cass forced out. "Professional. Focus on the work. What happened to him?" Marcus's voice was clipped. "Poisoned. Eclipse Wolf synthesis toxin. Variant strain. My medical team identifies it as your original design. Modified, enhanced. He has 72 hours to live, maybe less." Cass's fogged brain processed this information. "That toxin does not occur naturally. Someone weaponized it, deployed it deliberately." "I know, which is why you will heal him first. Then we find who did this. Then you face justice for your crimes." "What kind of justice?" Marcus finally looked at her. His eyes were pure wolf now, barely any human left. "That depends on whether my nephew survives." The heat hit in full force 30 minutes into the journey. One moment Cass was functional. The next she was burning from the inside out. her body demanding things her mind rejected, her wolf screaming for the mate whose scent filled every corner of the enclosed space. Vera moved immediately, injecting something into her IV. Sedative, hormone suppressant. It should take the edge off. It did not take the edge off. Cass felt her body beginning to shift involuntarily, bones starting to reshape, fur trying to push through skin, her Eclipse Wolf emerging after 5 years of forced suppression. "Hold her," Vera commanded. Marcus's hand settled on her shoulders, pushing her back against the medical bed. The contact was fire. Lightning. Everything her biology craved and her mind fought against. "Do not touch me," Cass snarled. Her voice was already changing, more wolf than human. "You are shifting in a moving vehicle," Marcus said. "You will injure yourself, or worse. I will injure you." "Try." She did, threw everything she had into breaking his hold. But he was an alpha king, stronger than any normal alpha, and she was weakened from years of suppressant and a body at war with itself. The shift completed despite her resistance. Her Eclipse Wolf form was smaller than standard shifters, built for speed and stealth rather than power. Silver-white fur with faint darker markings along her spine, eyes that glowed pale gold, the rarest wolf bloodline in existence. She snapped at Marcus's hands. He let her teeth close on his forearm, let her bite down with all her strength. Then he did something she did not expect. He shifted too. His alpha form was massive. Black fur shot through with silver that matched his human hair. Easily twice her size. The kind of wolf that led armies into battle and came out the other side drenched in enemy blood. He pinned her with his greater weight and strength. Not hurting, just immobilizing. His jaws closed around the back of her neck in the dominant hold alphas use to control unruly pack members. Cass's wolf went instantly still. Submission, automatic, biological. She hated it with every fiber of her being. Hated that her body recognized his authority. That her wolf accepted his dominance. That biology was stronger than will or hatred or 20 years of guilt. But her wolf did not care about hate. Her wolf only cared that this was mate. This was alpha. This was safety and strength and everything her instincts screamed she needed. Marcus held her there for long minutes, waiting for the sedative to take hold, waiting for her frenzy to pass. His weight solid and warm against her back, his scent surrounding her, pine and snow and alpha male. Mate. When Cass finally went limp, exhausted and overwhelmed, he released the dominant hold, shifted back to human form. "Restrain her," he told Vera. His voice was rough, strained. "Before she wakes and tries again." They bound her in wolf form, heavy chains designed for alpha containment. Cass was too far gone in the sedative haze to fight anymore. She drifted in and out of consciousness for the rest of the journey. Every time she woke, she could smell Marcus, feel his presence in the transport, sense him through the mate bond that should not exist but was growing stronger with every passing minute. And every time her wolf responded, drawn to him despite everything. They arrived at Ashfall Conclave as the sun reached its peak. Cass was awake but barely functional, the heat building again, the sedative only delaying the inevitable. Marcus carried her through the fortress in wolf form, still restrained. Guards stared, delegates whispered. An Eclipse Wolf, extinct bloodline walking the halls of Ashfall in the arms of the Alpha King. The isolation chamber was deep in the mountain. Stone walls 3 feet thick. Reinforced door designed to hold rogue shifters during blood moons or madness. Temperature controls, medical equipment, and in the center, a cage within a cage. They placed her inside. Cass shifted back to human as they closed the inner cage door. The restraints fell away. She was covered in sweat, shaking, her body racked with heat cramps that were only getting worse. Marcus stood outside the bars, watching her with those burning amber eyes. 20 years. He said quietly. "I have waited 20 years to find you, to make you answer for what you did. And now that I have you, I cannot even hate you properly." Cass forced herself to meet his gaze. The mate bond. It does not care about history or justice. It only cares about biology. "I know." He gripped the bars hard enough that the metal groaned. "Which is why you will stay in this cage until the heat passes. You will save my nephew. Then we will deal with everything else. And if I cannot control it, if the heat drives me completely feral, then I will control it for you, because I will not let biology make my decisions." He turned to leave. "Rest. You have 6 hours before Aiden's next treatment window. Vera will monitor you." He left. Cass collapsed onto the bedding they had provided. her body on fire, her wolf howling for the mate who had just walked away. Vera appeared at the outer cage bars. I know you probably hate me for testifying against you, for being here. I do not hate you, Cass said through the heat fog. You did what you had to do, just like I did. We all made choices. Some of us just got better outcomes. For what it is worth, I am sorry. About all of it. The trial, the prison, what they did to you. Save your apologies. Tell me about the nephew, the poisoning. Vera pulled up a medical tablet. Lieutenant Aiden Vane, 24 years old, tactical officer. 3 weeks ago he started showing symptoms of Eclipse Wolf toxin exposure. By the time we identified it, the damage was advanced. Standard treatments have failed. Because it is designed to target Eclipse Wolf biology specifically, it feeds on our healing factor, turns our strength against us. Cass forced herself to focus through the heat haze. I created this weapon, 20 years ago, for the Coalition, to neutralize enemy Eclipse Wolves in combat. Can you cure it? Maybe. If I can access my full abilities. If the heat does not destroy what is left of my control. If Marcus does not kill me first. He will not kill you. You sound certain. Vera met her eyes. Because he is your mate. And no alpha, not even an alpha king driven by 20 years of grief, can kill their true mate. Biology will not allow it. Cass laughed bitterly. Then we are both prisoners, him to a bond he does not want, me to a heat I cannot control. This is going to end badly. Maybe, Vera said. Or maybe this is exactly what both of you need to finally find peace. There is no peace for people like us, only different kinds of war. The heat came in brutal waves for the next 6 hours. Cass rode them out using meditation techniques she had learned in military prison. Breathing, focus, refusing to let the biology overwhelm her mind completely. But every breath drew in Marcus's scent, lingering in the room, on the bedding, in the very stone. Mate, mate, mate! Her wolf would not shut up about it. When the 6 hours were up, Marcus returned with the medical team. Lieutenant Vane is in the next chamber, he said. His voice was steady, but she could see the strain around his eyes, feel his exhaustion through the bond that was growing stronger despite their resistance. You will examine him, determine what treatment is possible. If you can save him, we negotiate the terms of your sentence. And if I cannot, then you have 72 hours to make peace with whatever gods you believe in. They let her out of the cage. She was weak, shaking, barely able to stand. Vera supported her on one side, a guard on the other. They brought her to an examination chamber where a young male shifter lay dying. Aiden Vane had Marcus in his features. Same strong jaw, same determined eyes. But where Marcus was all hard edges and controlled violence, Aiden still had softness, youth, hope, all of it draining away as the toxin ate him from the inside. Cass approached the bed. Her heat-addled senses could still function medically, years of training overriding biology. She examined him thoroughly. Vitals, blood work, cellular analysis. The damage was extensive, worse than she expected. The toxin had been introduced deliberately. Precisely calculated dosage. Time to kill him slowly enough to cause maximum pain, to give him just enough time to make it to the peace summit. This was not accidental exposure. This was assassination. Someone poisoned him, Cass said. Her voice was steadier now. Work gave her focus, purpose. Within the last 72 hours, introduce the toxin directly into his system, calculated to maximize suffering. This was not battlefield contamination. This was murder. Marcus's eyes flashed full gold. Who? I do not know. But whoever did this understands Eclipse Wolf biology intimately. They knew exactly how to weaponize my research for maximum damage and political impact. Can you save him? Cass looked at the dying young wolf, saw Marcus in his features, saw the future this kid should have had, all the potential about to be erased. Yes, she said, but it will require me to use my full Eclipse Wolf abilities, which means I need to complete at least one full shift cycle without suppressant, which means the heat will get catastrophically worse before it gets better. How much worse? Worse enough that keeping me in a cage will not be sufficient. You will need to fully sedate me, or... She stopped. Or what? Or find me a mate to bond with. Those are the only two options that will let me maintain enough control to perform the healing. The room went utterly silent. Marcus stared at her. She could see the war in his eyes. Duty versus biology. Justice versus bond. The need to save his nephew versus 20 years of wanting her dead. There has to be another way, he said. There is not. Eclipse Wolf heat cycles are designed to force bonding, biological imperative to preserve the bloodline. I can fight it for maybe another 12 hours. After that, I will be completely feral, useless to you. Then we sedate you completely. Perform the healing while you are unconscious. That will not work. Eclipse Wolf abilities require conscious guidance. I have to direct the healing, control the power flow. Unconscious, I am just another dying shifter. Marcus turned away, stared at the wall, his hands clenched into fists. This is impossible, he said quietly. You are asking me to bond with the woman who killed my family, to accept a mate bond with a war criminal, to let biology override 20 years of grief and rage. I am not asking for anything, Cass said. I am telling you the medical reality. You have options. Find another Eclipse Wolf, find another treatment, or accept that your nephew dies and I die with him, because this heat will kill me if it is not resolved. There are no other Eclipse Wolves. You are the last. Then you have a choice to make, and you have about 11 hours to make it. Marcus looked at his nephew, at the young wolf dying because someone had weaponized Cass's own creation against her bloodline. Then he looked at Cass, the woman he had hunted for 6 months, the weapon he had planned to destroy, the mate his wolf had claimed the moment their skin touched. Get her back to the isolation chamber, he said to Vera. I need to think. They took her back to the cage, locked her in, left her alone with her wolf and the growing heat and the impossible situation neither of them had wanted. Cass lay on the bedding, feeling her control slipping with every passing minute. Outside the cage, the world continued. Delegates debated, soldiers prepared, politicians calculated. But inside the cage, there was only biology, only heat, only the mate bond pulling her toward a man who had every reason to let her die. And somewhere in the fortress, Marcus Vane, Alpha King of the Ironwall Dominion, was making the hardest decision of his life. Justice or mercy, hate or bond, revenge or redemption. Cass closed her eyes and waited for his answer. The hours crawled past like wounded animals, each minute marked by another wave of heat, another cramp that drove the air from her lungs. Her wolf pacing endless circles inside her consciousness, demanding release, demanding the mate whose scent saturated every stone of this mountain prison. She could track Marcus through the fortress by scent alone. He was pacing too, up on the command level, moving between his office and the observation deck, coming close to the isolation wing, then retreating. An alpha predator circling something he could not decide whether to claim or kill. Vera returned after the 4th hour, brought water, medical supplies, fresh bedding, sat outside the cage like a penitent seeking absolution. You should not be here, Cass said. Her voice was hoarse, strained. My heat scent will affect any shifter in range. Make males aggressive. Make females territorial. You are putting yourself at risk. I have spent 20 years putting myself at risk to atone for what I did to you, Vera said quietly. One more day will not kill me. What did you do that requires 20 years of atonement? You testified truthfully at my trial. You saved your family by taking the immunity deal. I would have done the same. But you did not have a family to protect. You were alone, and you still took the fall for all of us. Vera's hands clenched on the bars. The bioweapon deployment. Coalition Command ordered it. 12 senior officers signed off. But when it went wrong, when the casualties were counted, they needed a scapegoat, someone to absorb the blame. And you were convenient. Eclipse Wolf, no pack, no family, expendable. I deployed the weapon. That part is not in dispute. But you fought the order for 3 days, showed them projections of civilian casualties, warned them the toxin would spread beyond the target zone. They court-martialed you for insubordination even before the deployment, then used your hesitation as proof of incompetence when people died. Cass had not known that detail. The full record had been classified. How do you know this? Because I have spent 20 years digging, investigating. I am part of an oversight committee now, hunting corruption in both coalition and Ironwall governments, and we have found connections. Evidence that the bioweapon deployment was not just military necessity. Someone wanted those 40,000 people dead, specifically, for profit. Who? We do not know all the names yet, but Aiden's poisoning is connected. Same Eclipse Wolf toxin, same delivery method. Someone has been using your research to assassinate threats and restart conflicts for 20 years, building an empire on blood. Another cramp hit. Cass doubled over, gasping. Vera reached through the bars, gripped her hand. Female shifter to female shifter, no threat, only support. Why are you telling me this now? Cass managed. Because in a few hours, Marcus is going to have to choose. Bond with you or let biology destroy you both. And I want you to know that whatever he chooses, you are not the monster they made you out to be. You were a weapon they used, then discarded. But you are not defined by what they forced you to do. Tell that to the 40,000 dead. I cannot bring them back, but I can help you save the ones still living, starting with Aiden. Vera released her hand and stood. Marcus is coming. He has made his decision. I can smell it on him. She left. Cass waited. The door opened 10 minutes later. Marcus entered alone, still in human form, but barely. She could see his wolf in his eyes, in the tension coiled through every muscle, in the way he moved like violence barely leashed. He stopped outside the cage. I have a proposition, he said. His voice was carefully controlled. A temporary bond, long enough for you to heal Aiden and survive your heat cycle. No permanent claim, no pack integration. When it is over, we dissolve it. You face trial for your war crimes. I return to my territory. We never see each other again. Cass stared at him. That is not how mate bonds work. It is how this one will work. Because I will not spend the rest of my life bound to the woman who killed my family. And you do not deserve the protection of a mate bond after what you did. But I will not let my nephew die. And I will not let biology force me into something neither of us wants. You cannot dissolve a true mate bond. Once it forms, it is permanent. Breaking it will kill us both. Then we will find a way. Magic, medicine, sheer force of will. I do not care, but I will not be your mate. Not really. Not in any way that matters. He was lying to himself. Cass could smell it. Could see it in the way his hands shook slightly. The way his eyes tracked her every movement with possessive intensity he probably was not even aware of. His wolf had already claimed her. The moment they touched, the moment their scents mingled. Whatever Marcus wanted, his wolf knew the truth. This was mate, this was permanent, this was fate. But she did not argue. Because Aiden was dying. Because she was dying. Because they were both trapped in a situation that had no good options. When? She asked. Now, while you still have enough control to consent. While I still have enough control not to rip out your throat for what you took from me. He opened the outer cage, then the inner, stepped inside. His scent hit her like a physical blow. Alpha, mate, power. Everything her heat-crazed wolf craved. Cass tried to stand, made it halfway before her legs gave out. Marcus caught her, lifted her with the same ease as before. But this time there was purpose behind it. Intention. He carried her to the medical bed they had set up in the corner, laid her down gently. His hands were shaking now, fighting the same biology she was. The bond? Cass said. How do you want to do this? The traditional way. Claiming bite. Exchange of blood. Full shift and recognition between wolves. He was stripping off his shirt as he spoke, revealing a torso covered in old battle scars and hard-earned muscle. It has to be complete enough to satisfy your heat. Anything less, and your wolf will keep fighting for more. You have done research. I spent the last 6 hours reading every medical text on Eclipse Wolf biology I could access. I know what is required. He knelt beside the bed, eye level with her. I know that Eclipse Wolves bond deeper than normal shifters. That once claimed, you will be tied to me in ways that go beyond pack law. That you will feel my emotions, my pain, my rage at what you did. And you will feel mine, my guilt, my grief. 20 years of carrying 40,000 deaths. Are you prepared for that? No, but I am out of options. He leaned in. Cass felt his breath on her neck, felt the sharp points of his canines beginning to extend, felt her own wolf surge up, desperate, dying for this connection. One thing, she said. Before you do this, before you bind yourself to me, you should know the full truth. Marcus pulled back slightly. What truth? Your mate. Your daughter. They were not in the target zone. Coalition intelligence had confirmed the civilian evacuation was complete. The weapon should not have touched them. His expression went very still, very dangerous. What are you saying? I am saying someone redirected them. Someone with access to Coalition intelligence. Someone who wanted them in the kill zone when the weapon deployed. Your family was murdered, deliberately, and I was the tool they used to do it. Marcus's hands closed on her shoulders. Not gently, hard enough to leave bruises that would last even with shifter healing. Who? I do not know, but Vera is investigating, and Aiden's poisoning is connected. Someone has been using Eclipse Wolf toxins for 20 years, killing anyone who gets too close to the truth, profiting from war. Cass met his eyes. You are hunting the wrong person, Marcus. I pulled the trigger, but someone else loaded the gun and aimed it at your family, and they are still out there. She could see him processing this, see the rage and grief and confusion warring in his eyes. 20 years of certainty crumbling, 20 years of hate finding new targets. You still deployed the weapon, he said. You still killed them. Yes, and I will carry that until I die. But you deserve to know you are not alone in wanting justice. I want to find who used me, who turned me into their weapon, and I want to help you make them pay. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he made his decision. We bond now. Save Aiden. Then we hunt together. Find who did this. And when we find them, you get to live long enough to watch me destroy them. Then you face justice for your part in it. Agreed? Agreed. He did not wait for more words. Did not give either of them time to second guess. He lowered his head and bit down on the junction of her neck and shoulder. Hard, deep. The claiming bite that would mark her as his for the rest of her life. The pain was intense, sharp, but underneath it was pleasure, connection. The mate bond snapping into place like a missing piece of her soul sliding home. Cass screamed, not from the pain, from the sudden overwhelming flood of Marcus's emotions crashing into her nervous system. 20 years of grief, rage, loneliness, the terrible weight of being Alpha King, all of it hitting her at once. She bit him back. Instinct, necessity, her canines extending, sinking into the heavy muscle of his shoulder, tasting his blood, ancient and powerful in hers. The bond completed with a surge of silver light. Her heat cycle, which had been building toward feral madness, suddenly leveled, satisfied. Her wolf settling because it had what it needed, a mate, an alpha, a bond that meant survival. Marcus pulled back, blood on his mouth, his eyes pure burning gold, his wolf fully present. Shift, he commanded. It was not a request. It was an alpha order delivered through a fresh mate bond. Impossible for any wolf to resist. Cass shifted. Her Eclipse Wolf form emerged without the resistance she had felt before. Silver-white fur flowing like water. Smaller than his wolf but perfectly proportioned for speed and grace. Her eyes glowed pale gold in the dim light. Marcus shifted too. His massive black and silver wolf filled the small space. Alpha King in his true form. Built to dominate, to protect, to lead armies and come back victorious. He circled her once, scenting, confirming the bond had taken properly. Then he pressed his side against hers. The simple gesture of mated pairs, recognition, acceptance. Her wolf leaned into him, despite everything, despite the history and the hate and the impossibility of it all. Her wolf knew this was right, this was safe, this was home. They stayed like that for several minutes. Two wolves who had found each other in the worst possible way. Bound by biology and necessity. Partners in survival if nothing else. Finally Marcus shifted back to human. Cass followed. They were both breathing hard. Covered in sweat and blood. The claiming bites on their shoulders already beginning to heal, leaving scars that would mark them as mated for the rest of their lives. How do you feel? Marcus asked. Clear, focused, the heat is managed. Cass flexed her hands, felt her Eclipse Wolf abilities humming beneath her skin. Stronger than they had been in years. The bond had amplified her power. I can heal Aiden now, while the bond is fresh, while my wolf is stable. Then we do it immediately. He helped her stand. She was steady now, grounded by his presence through the bond. But understand this, the bond changes nothing about the past, about what you did, about the justice you owe. This is temporary, functional, nothing more. I understand. Do you? Because I can feel your wolf through this bond, and she thinks this is permanent. She thinks we are mated for life. My wolf is wrong. We are both trapped in a biological necessity. But we are not in love. We are not partners beyond this crisis. We are two people doing what we have to do to survive. When Aiden is healed and the heat passes, we will find a way to separate, bonded or not. Marcus studied her face, looking for lies, for hope, for anything that suggested she thought this could be more than it was. He found only grim resignation. Good. Then we are in agreement. He pulled his torn shirt back on. Let us go save my nephew. Then we hunt the people who put us in this situation. And then we figure out how to live with this bond without destroying each other. He opened the door. Guards waited outside. They saw the claiming bites, smelled the fresh bond. Their expressions shifted from professional neutrality to shock. The Alpha King had taken a mate, and not just any mate. The war criminal, the weapon, the woman he had hunted for 6 months intending to kill. The political implications would be staggering. The rumors would spread through both territories like wildfire. But Marcus did not care. He moved through the corridors with Cass at his side, his hand on her elbow, claiming her publicly, daring anyone to question it. They reached the medical wing where Aiden lay dying. The young wolf looked worse than before. His breathing shallow, his heartbeat erratic, his skin taking on the gray pallor of organ failure. Cass assessed him with senses sharpened by the fresh bond and the full strength of her Eclipse Wolf returning. She could see the toxin working through his system, could feel how it was feeding on his own healing factor, turning his strength into weakness. "I need to do a full transfusion," she said. "My blood into his system. Then a bonding ritual to stabilize his wolf while I extract the toxin. It will take approximately 3 hours. He will be in severe pain, and there is a 40% chance he will not survive the process." "What are the odds if you do not try?" 0%. He dies within 8 hours. Marcus looked at his nephew, then at Cass. Through the bond she felt his conflict. Trust versus fear, hope versus grief. The terrible weight of making decisions that determined who lived and who died. "Do it," he said. Cass began the work that would determine all their fates. The healing took 4 hours that felt like 4 lifetimes. Cassandra knelt beside Aiden Vane's medical bed, her hands glowing with silver light she had not channeled in 5 years. Eclipse Wolf power flowing freely for the first time since the war, since the bioweapon deployment, since she learned that having gifts made you valuable, and valuable things got weaponized. But this time she was saving a life instead of taking 40,000. The toxin in Aiden's blood fought her every step of the way. She could feel it woven through his system like parasitic vines, feeding on his own shifter healing factor, turning his strength against him. Elegant, vicious. Her own design from 2 decades ago, refined and enhanced by someone who understood Eclipse Wolf biology intimately. Through the mate bond, she felt Marcus watching from the observation window. His emotions bled through their connection whether he wanted them to or not. Hope warring with fear. Gratitude fighting against resentment. And underneath everything, his wolf's absolute certainty that she was mate, regardless of what his human mind believed about justice and revenge. The bond was still so new it ached. Fresh claiming bites on both their shoulders, silver thread connecting their souls. She could feel his heartbeat syncing with hers, could taste his anxiety like copper on her tongue. "Talk to me," Cass said to Aiden. The young wolf was conscious. Barely. But she needed him aware for the healing to work properly. Eclipse Wolf abilities required willing participation from the patient. "Tell me about yourself. Distract us both." "Why?" Aiden's voice was a rasp, damaged vocal cords from 3 weeks of toxin exposure. "So I do not focus on how much this hurts? So I do not focus on how much power this requires. And I need to understand your wolf. Every shifter has a unique energy signature. Your healing pattern is different from your uncle's. Talk." Aiden managed a weak smile despite the pain. "Tactical officer, Iron Wall 3rd Division, asymmetric warfare specialist, small unit tactics. The kind of fighting where you are outnumbered 3 to 1 but you win anyway because you think better than the enemy. Like Marcus. He trained me personally, since I was 8, after my parents died in a convoy accident." A pause, breathing through another wave of pain as silver light burned toxin from his cells. "Took me into his household, raised me like his own son, taught me everything he knows about strategy, about honor, about carrying the weight of command." Cass felt a pang through the bond. Marcus's grief for the family he had lost, the maid and daughter who had died in her bioweapon attack, the nephew he had raised to replace them. "He never talked about his first family," Aiden continued. "I knew they existed, knew they died in the war, but he kept that grief locked so deep I did not even know their names until 6 months ago." "What happened 6 months ago?" "Coalition declassified some war records, trial transcripts. He read yours, all of it, found out you had been coerced, that you fought the deployment order for 3 days, that your superiors threatened you with execution if you did not comply. That does not excuse what I did." "No, but it changed how he saw you. Stopped seeing you as a monster who chose to kill. Started seeing you as a soldier who made an impossible choice under duress. Started looking for you to talk instead of to kill. Cass's hands clenched, the silver light flickered. He still wanted me dead. He wanted answers, closure, justice. What he wanted shifted once he understood you were another casualty. Aiden gasped. Is it working, the healing? Yes, the toxin is breaking down. Your wolf is fighting back now that I have given him something to fight. Cass increased the power flow, drew deeper on her Eclipse Wolf reserves. But whoever poisoned you knew exactly what they were doing. This was not accidental contamination. This was precision assassination calculated for maximum political impact. I know. I have been investigating. Aiden's words came in gasps between waves of pain. Following money, arms dealers. Someone has been profiting from Eclipse Wolf bioweapons for 20 years, selling variants to both sides, using them to destabilize peace efforts, creating demand through crisis. Did you find names? One solid lead. Director Silas Kane, supposed neutral mediator for the Peace Summit, but he is also majority shareholder in Warwick Arms Corporation. They manufacture biological weapons, including Eclipse Wolf variants based on your original research. Cass's breath caught. The silver light guttered. Kane. I know that name. He visited me in prison, year 3 of my sentence, said he was researching ethical weapons development, wanted to interview me about the bioweapon deployment. Did you tell him anything? I told him to go fuck himself, but he already had access to my files, my medical records, my blood samples, everything Coalition confiscated during the trial. Through the bond, she felt Marcus's fury spike. He was not researching ethics. He was researching how to replicate my abilities, how to create Eclipse Wolf weapons without needing actual Eclipse Wolves. Through the observation window, Marcus moved. She sensed him entering the room before the door opened. We need to tell him, Aiden said, about Kane, about the investigation, after I finish healing you. If I lose focus now, the toxin will surge back. Next time it might kill you before I can stop it. She poured everything she had into the healing, drew on the mate bond for strength even though it cost her pride. Felt Marcus's alpha power flowing through their connection, amplifying her Eclipse Wolf abilities in ways that should not be possible. Together, bonded, they were stronger than either could ever be alone. The toxin finally broke, dissolved into harmless compounds that Aiden's body could process and eliminate. His breathing steadied, heartbeat evened out. The gray death pallor faded from his skin, replaced by healthy shifter vitality. He was going to survive. Cass sagged, utterly spent. 5 years of suppressed power burned through in 4 hours. The silver light winked out. She felt hollow, drained, like she had poured out her soul into Aiden's healing and had nothing left for herself. Marcus caught her before she could collapse. Strong arms, solid chest. His scent surrounding her, pine and snow and alpha male. Through the bond, she felt his relief crashing into her like a physical force. Gratitude, respect, and underneath, affection he did not want to feel, but could not suppress. You saved him, Marcus said quietly. I cleaned up my own mess. Do not mistake necessity for heroism. I am not. But you could have let him die. Used the chaos to escape. Instead, you exhausted yourself completely to save him. That means something. It means I am trying to atone for 40,000 deaths. One life does not balance that scale, but it is a start. Aiden stirred on the bed, his eyes opened, clear, focused, alive. Uncle Marcus? His voice was stronger already, shifter healing accelerating now that the toxin was gone. Did it work? It worked. You are going to be fine. Marcus's hand settled on Cass's shoulder. Possessive. Protective. He probably did not even realize he was doing it. And we have hunting to do. Kane needs to answer for what he did to you. Vera appeared in the doorway. That is going to be difficult. Kane left the summit 3 hours ago. Claimed urgent business in Coalition territory. Full security detail. Diplomatic convoy. Marcus's eyes flashed pure gold, his wolf rising close to the surface. Find him. I do not care what protocols you have to break. I do not care about diplomatic immunity. That man poisoned my nephew and profited from bioweapons for 20 years. He does not walk away from this. Already tracking him. My assets report his convoy heading toward the old Coalition research facility. Grid coordinates match the location where the original Eclipse Wolf program was based. The same facility where I worked, Cass said, 20 years ago, before the deployment. Then you know the layout, security, weaknesses. Marcus pulled out his comm device, started issuing rapid-fire orders. Mobilize tactical teams Alpha through Delta. I want air and ground units ready in 10 minutes. Full combat loadout. We are going hunting. You cannot leave the summit, Cass protested. You are the Alpha King. Ironwall needs you here for treaty negotiations. Ironwall will manage. This is personal. His voice carried Alpha command, the tone that made entire packs obey without question. Kane tried to kill my nephew to restart the war, used your research to create weapons. He does not get to escape while we sit in meetings. Within minutes, Ashfall Conclave transformed into a military staging ground. Shifters moved with practiced precision. Elite soldiers Marcus had brought as his personal guard. The kind of wolves who had fought in dozens of battles and survived through skill and savagery. They geared up in tactical armor, loaded weapons, checked equipment with the efficiency of a pack that had worked together for years. Cass watched from the medical wing, still recovering. Vera stood beside her. You should go with him, Vera said. He will need you. He has an entire tactical team. What can I possibly add? You know the facility layout, you know how Kane thinks, and you are bonded to Marcus now. Your Eclipse Wolf abilities complement his alpha strength. Together you are more effective than separated. He does not want me as his mate. He made that clear. This bond is temporary, functional, until we find a way to break it. Vera gave her a look. You keep telling yourself that, but I have seen how he looks at you, how his wolf responds when you are near. Temporary bonds do not cause Alpha Kings to go protective and possessive. I am not going. I am too weak. I just burned through everything healing Aiden. Then you recover faster in his presence. Mate bonds accelerate healing, basic shifter biology. Vera pulled out tactical gear. Get dressed. You are going whether you want to or not, because if Kane has been using your research for 20 years, you are the only one who can verify what he has been doing with it. You need to be there when we take him down. Cass knew Vera was right, hated it, but accepted it. 20 minutes later, she was in the transport convoy, sitting beside Marcus in the command vehicle. He had tried to order her to stay. She had ignored him. They had argued through the mate bond, private conversation no one else could hear. Eventually, he had given up, because she was right and he knew it. The convoy rolled out with military efficiency. 6 heavy transports loaded with Ironwall's best tactical wolves, all volunteers, all loyal to Marcus beyond question. The kind of pack that would follow their alpha into hell itself if he asked. Cass rode in silence, studying satellite imagery on Marcus's tactical display. The research facility was built into a mountain, 3 levels underground, main entrance heavily fortified. But there was a service tunnel, emergency evacuation route, less guarded because it was assumed to be sealed. This is the weak point, she said, marking the location. Service tunnel. Used for waste disposal and emergency exit. Your breaching team can access it here. Marcus studied the map. Or it is a trap. Kane knows we are coming. Could have the tunnel rigged to blow. Then we go fast and hard. Get what we need and extract before he can execute whatever contingency he planned. You talk like a soldier. I was a soldier, before I became a war criminal. 20 years of military training does not disappear just because you get court-martialed. Through the bond, she felt his reassessment. Seeing her not as a doctor forced into military service, but as a combat officer who had commanded troops in battle, who understood tactics, who could be an asset instead of a liability. The facility appeared on the horizon 90 minutes later. Massive blast doors set into the mountainside, supposedly abandoned, but Cass could smell active power systems. Recent human traffic, fresh oil on mechanical systems. Someone was home. Marcus deployed his teams with the practiced efficiency of someone who had commanded armies. Perimeter security, sniper overwatch, breaching teams for both main entrance and service tunnel, reserve units to respond to threats. You stay in the command transport, he told Cass. Vera guards you. If anything happens to me, you extract immediately. Nothing is going to happen to you. Through the bond, she felt his grim certainty that this was absolutely a trap. Felt his willingness to walk into it anyway, because justice mattered more than safety. He shifted into his massive alpha wolf form. Black and silver fur, burning gold eyes, the kind of wolf that nightmares were built from. His pack shifted with him, coordinated, lethal, a war pack moving as one organism. They disappeared into the service tunnel. Cass waited with Vera in the transport, monitoring tactical communications, listening to progress reports as the pack moved through the facility. Level 1 clear, no hostiles. Level 2 clear. Evidence of recent occupation. Computer terminals still warm. Level 3, we have the main laboratory, stand by. Then silence. Through the bond, Cass felt something spike. Not pain, not fear. Rage so pure it was like swallowing molten silver. Marcus? She said into the comm. What did you find? His voice came back. Rough, strained, still in wolf form but speaking through alpha abilities. Records. Thousands of files. Kane has been running Eclipse Wolf experiments for 20 years. Trying to recreate your abilities artificially. Using tissue samples, blood. He has been testing bioweapons on live subjects. Cass felt ice settle in her gut. Where did he get test subjects? Prisoners. Captured shifters from both sides. Coalition. Iron Wall. He did not discriminate. Just used whoever he could acquire. A pause. I am looking at 20 years of failed experiments. Hundreds of dead shifters. All in pursuit of weaponizing Eclipse Wolf genetics. Marcus, you need to extract, now. If he has been running illegal experiments for 2 decades, that facility is compromised. There could be contamination, unstable compounds, biological hazards. We are securing the evidence, then we are finding Kane. His personal transport is still in the vehicle bay. He is here somewhere. Do not engage without backup. Wait for... The explosion cut her off. Not massive, surgical, targeted. The laboratory level collapsing. Sealing access tunnels. Trapping Marcus and his pack with whatever Kane had left behind. Through the bond, Cass felt Marcus's pain and fury and desperate need to protect his pack. No! She was moving before conscious thought. Out of the transport. Shifting mid-stride. Her Eclipse Wolf bursting free in a rush of silver light. Vera tried to stop her, too slow. Cass was built for speed. She hit the service tunnel at full sprint. Silver-white fur flowing. Smaller than standard wolves, but faster. Much faster. The tunnel was partially collapsed. Rocks and debris blocking the way. But Eclipse wolves were made for tight spaces. For slipping through gaps larger wolves could not navigate. She squeezed through, wriggled under fallen beams, ignored pain as sharp edges cut her. Her wolf did not care about injury, only cared about reaching mate. She reached level 3 to find chaos. The blast had triggered containment protocols. Biological hazard warnings blaring, doors sealing. And in the center of the laboratory, Marcus's pack-fighting creatures that should not exist. Hybrid abominations. Failed Eclipse Wolf experiments. Shifters whose genetics had been forced into unstable combinations. Enhanced strength and speed but no control. No reason. Just killing machines driven by pain and madness. Marcus's pack was holding them off. Barely. But for every hybrid they put down, another emerged from research cells. Kane's insurance policy, his fail-safe, turned the facility into a death trap. Cass assessed in seconds. Saw the central control console. Saw the emergency containment switch that would seal all research cells simultaneously. She ran for it. A hybrid intercepted her. Massive, deformed. Eclipse Wolf genetics grafted onto alpha frame. All the worst of both bloodlines. It lunged with horrifying speed. Cass dodged. Used her smaller size. Slipped under its attack. But it was faster than she expected. Claws raked across her shoulder. Deep, painful, blood spraying silver. Through the bond, Marcus felt her pain. His roar shook the facility foundations. He abandoned his own fight, hit the hybrid attacking Cass with the full force of an Alpha King's protective fury. They went down in a tangle of fur and claws and snapping jaws. Cass used the distraction, reached the console, shifted partially back to human, just enough to have fingers, to operate controls. The hybrids were converging on Marcus. Too many, too fast. Even an Alpha King could be overwhelmed. She hit the containment switch. Every research cell sealed simultaneously. Emergency sedative gas flooding the chambers. Chemical compounds designed to pacify even the most violent test subjects. The hybrids collapsed within seconds, their malformed bodies unable to resist the assault. Silence fell. Broken only by heavy breathing and the hiss of gas vents, Marcus shifted back to human. Blood-covered, panting. He crossed to Cass in 3 strides and gripped her shoulders hard enough to bruise. I told you to stay in the transport. You are welcome for saving your life. You could have been killed. Those things were engineered to hunt Eclipse wolves specifically. I noticed. Right about when one tried to gut me. Through the bond she felt his terror. His rage at her for risking herself. His rage at himself for needing her to. Then he pulled her against his chest and held her. Just held her. While his pack secured the facility and his heartbeat slowly returned to normal. "You are the most infuriating woman I have ever met," he said into her hair. "And you are impossibly stubborn. We make quite a pair." He pulled back, looked at her, really looked. Past the war criminal, past the blood and history, seeing the woman who had just run into a death trap to save him. "Yes," he said quietly, "we do." Vera's voice crackled through the comm. "We have a problem. Kane is not here. The personal transport was a decoy. He left hours ago. We have been chasing a ghost." Marcus's expression hardened. "Where did he go?" "Best analysis says back to the summit. He has diplomatic immunity as neutral mediator. If he reaches Ashfall before we do, we cannot touch him without creating an international incident." Marcus looked at Cass. "How fast can you run?" "Fast enough. Why?" "Because we are going to beat him to the summit. And when we get there, we are going to destroy him." They raced back, loaded the biological evidence, downloaded every file they could access, then drove like demons toward Ashfall Conclave. The trip that took 90 minutes outbound took 40 minutes return. They arrived to find Kane already in the summit chamber, standing before assembled delegates, claiming the facility explosion was an unprovoked attack by Ironwall forces on Coalition research property. Marcus walked into that chamber covered in blood and hybrid gore, flanked by his pack, with Cass at his side wearing the fresh claiming bite that marked her as his mate. The room went utterly silent. "Director Silas Kane," Marcus said. His voice echoed off stone walls. Alpha command carried through every word. "You are under arrest for biological weapons development, illegal genetic experimentation, conspiracy to commit murder, and treason against both Coalition and Ironwall territories." Kane's face went pale. "You cannot arrest a neutral mediator. I have diplomatic immunity. You forfeited immunity when you poisoned my nephew, when you created bioweapons and tested them on prisoners, when you ran illegal experiments for 20 years. Marcus pulled out a data crystal. "We have your records, all of them, every experiment, every test subject, every transaction from selling Eclipse Wolf toxins. Those records are classified, inadmissible as evidence. Watch me make them admissible." Cass stepped forward. "I am Dr. Cassandra Morgrave, Chief Medical Officer for the original Eclipse Wolf research program. I designed the baseline bioweapon 20 years ago, and I can verify that Director Kane has been using my research illegally, using my blood samples taken during imprisonment, creating weapons that have killed thousands for profit." The assembly erupted, delegates shouting, guards moving, political calculations happening in real time, but Marcus's voice cut through chaos. "Director Kane will face Joint Coalition Ironwall Tribunal. The evidence will be made public. Every government official who profited from his weapons trade will be exposed. The corruption ends now." Kane tried to run, made it 3 steps before Marcus's pack tackled him, restrained him with efficiency born of decades hunting rogues. The summit descended into productive chaos, both sides united in fury at the conspiracy that had nearly restarted the war. The tribunal convened 2 days later, public session, broadcast across both territories, every delegate, every media outlet, the world watching as decades of corruption faced daylight. Cass took the stand and told her story. The research program, the coercion, the deployment, the 40,000 deaths. And then Kane's perversion of her work. The hybrid experiments, the toxin variants sold for profit, the deliberate poisoning of Aiden designed to collapse peace talks. She spoke for 4 hours, answered every question, accepted responsibility for her own crimes while documenting Kane's empire of blood. When she finished, Marcus stood. "For the record, Dr. Morgrave's testimony is credible and complete. She has cooperated fully despite having every reason to protect herself. Her actions in healing my nephew and exposing this conspiracy should weigh heavily in any future proceedings against her." It was not forgiveness, not exoneration, but it was recognition from an Alpha King who had hunted her for months. That recognition carried weight. The tribunal deliberated 18 hours. When they returned, the verdict was harsh and swift. Director Silas Kane, guilty on all counts. Life imprisonment, assets seized, legacy destroyed. His co-conspirators, various sentences. Some took plea deals, others fell on their swords. The corruption network crumbled, but Cass's fate remained unresolved. The final ruling came on day 7. "Dr. Cassandra Morgrave, this tribunal finds you acted under extreme duress during the original bioweapon deployment. Your superior officers bear primary responsibility. However, you retain partial culpability for executing the order." Cass stood alone, awaiting judgment. This tribunal also recognizes your cooperation in exposing the Kane network, your healing of Lieutenant Vane, your critical testimony. Considering all factors, this tribunal sentences you to supervised community service. You will establish and operate a medical clinic serving populations affected by biological weapons, provide free treatment, train medical professionals, report regularly to joint oversight. You have served 15 years in military prison under questionable charges. Your skills serve the living better than imprisonment. But be clear, this is pragmatism, not forgiveness. Violate these terms, and the full conviction will be reinstated. Understood. Tribunal adjourned. Marcus found her outside the chamber, pulled her into a private corridor, kissed her hard. Desperate. Relief and hope, and something deeper. You are free, he said against her mouth. Free to build a clinic? Free to try to save lives instead of taking them. More than I deserve. Exactly what you deserve, a chance to do better. Through the bond, Cass felt his emotions. Relief. Gratitude. Affection growing into something stronger. Come home with me, Marcus said. To Ironwall. Build your clinic there. Let me help you. You have a territory to rule. A pack to lead. You do not need a war criminal mate complicating everything. I need you. My wolf needs you. We are bonded whether we like it or not. So stop fighting and come home. Cass looked at him. This alpha king who had been forced into a mate bond. Who was now offering her a future. Okay, she said. I will come home. They left the summit together. Bound by biology. Connected by necessity. Two broken people trying to build something whole from shared damage. It would not be easy. Would probably fail. But they would try. Because that was what survivors did. The convoy to Ironwall territory took 3 days. Not because of distance. Because Marcus insisted on stopping at every border settlement. Showing his pack that he had brought home a mate. That the war was truly over. That Eclipse Wolves were allies now, not enemies. Cass rode beside him in the lead transport. Aiden in the back, fully recovered, asking endless questions about Eclipse Wolf healing. The young wolf had shifted his focus from tactical operations to medical research. Wanted to use his own experience to help develop better treatments. I want to work with you, Aiden said on the second day. At your clinic. I am terrible at actually treating patients, but I am excellent at logistics, organization, making complex systems run smoothly. You should be enjoying your life, not working for someone who nearly killed you. You saved my life. That makes you Pack, and Pack takes care of Pack. The simple statement brought unexpected tears to Cass's eyes. She had not been part of a pack in 30 years, had forgotten what belonging felt like. Through the bond, she felt Marcus's satisfaction. His pride that his nephew was choosing to honor the mate bond, choosing to see Cass as more than her crimes. They reached the first Ironwall settlement on the evening of day 2. Small town, maybe 500 shifters. When Marcus's convoy rolled in, the entire population came out to see. An Alpha King visiting was always significant. An Alpha King with a new mate was monumental. Marcus made Cass stand beside him as he addressed the town, his hand on her shoulder, publicly claiming her, showing his pack that she was under his protection. This is Cassandra Morgrave, he announced, Alpha voice carrying to every ear. My mate, Eclipse Wolf, former coalition officer. She has made choices she regrets, carried guilt for actions that haunt her. But she is also the reason my nephew lives. The reason we exposed a conspiracy that threatened all of us. She is flawed. She is broken. And she is mine. He paused. Let that sink in. Anyone who cannot accept my mate is free to leave my territory. I will not force loyalty. But I will not tolerate disrespect toward her. She is Eclipse Queen now, and she will be treated accordingly. The town responded with howls. Not aggressive. Welcoming. Accepting their Alpha's choice because Pack Law said the Alpha's judgment was absolute. It happened again at the second settlement. And the third. Each time, Marcus publicly claimed her. Each time, the Pack accepted her because he demanded it. By the third day, Cass was exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. Overwhelmed by acceptance she had not expected. By Pack bonds forming whether she wanted them or not. Why are you doing this? She asked Marcus that night. They had stopped at a Pack lodge. Separate rooms, but Marcus had come to hers to talk. The public claiming. Forcing your Pack to accept me. You could keep me hidden. Keep the bond private. Because if I hide you, they will assume I am ashamed of you. Will assume the bond is something to be concealed. That gives them permission to treat you as lesser. He sat on the edge of her bed, close but not touching. I am not ashamed of you. I am conflicted, angry, confused, but not ashamed. And I will not let my pack think otherwise. You are a better man than you give yourself credit for. I am a practical man. You are my mate. That makes you pack royalty whether either of us wanted it. I can either support you publicly or undermine my own authority. I choose support. Through the bond, Cass felt the truth beneath his words. It was not just political calculation. He was starting to care, actually care, about her well-being, her acceptance, her place in his pack. When we get to Ironwall City, Marcus continued, there will be a formal pack dinner, 200 shifters, all ranks. You will be introduced officially. Given the title Eclipse Queen in ceremony, it will be overwhelming. I can handle it, I know, but you should not have to handle it alone. He reached for her hand. The first voluntary touch since the claiming that was not driven by crisis. I will be there. Aiden will be there. Vera, you will have allies. Why does that terrify me more than facing a tribunal? Because accepting kindness is harder than accepting judgment. Kindness requires believing you deserve it. They sat in comfortable silence, the bond humming between them. Not love, not yet, but connection, understanding. The beginning of something that might grow into partnership. Tell me about Ironwall, Cass said. What am I walking into? Marcus spent the next hour describing his territory. The pack structure, the political factions, the wolves who would support her, and the ones who would resent her. He was honest, detailed, giving her the information she needed to navigate pack politics. By the time he left, Cass felt less terrified and more prepared. They reached Ironwall City on the morning of day 4. Massive, built into a mountain range, stone fortifications blending seamlessly with natural rock. Beautiful and practical, the heart of the strongest shifter territory on the continent. Marcus's pack lands spread for hundreds of miles. Forests, mountains, small towns, all under his protection, all loyal to the Alpha King. He took her to his residence first, not a palace. A large, fortified home built into the mountainside. Functional, comfortable. The dwelling of a soldier who became king, but never forgot his origins. You can have your own quarters, Marcus said. Second floor, private suite, or you can share mine. The bond makes proximity easier, less strain on our wolves. I will take my own space, for now, until we figure out what this is between us. Fair. He showed her to a suite that was larger than her entire clinic had been. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting area, windows overlooking mountains. The pack dinner is tonight, 7 hours. Dress is casual but clean. Do not try to impress anyone. Just be yourself. Myself is a war criminal. Yourself is also the woman who saved my nephew and exposed a 20-year conspiracy. Let them see that woman. The pack dinner was held in a massive hall. 200 shifters. Warriors and healers and craftspeople and families. The full strength of Ironwall's leadership pack. Cass entered beside Marcus, wearing simple clothes Vera had helped her choose. Not trying to hide, but not flaunting either. Just present. The room went quiet. Every eye tracked her. The Eclipse Wolf. The war criminal. The unlikely mate of their Alpha King. Marcus raised his hand for silence, then spoke in the Alpha voice that commanded instant obedience. This is Cassandra Morgrave. My mate. Eclipse Wolf. She carries guilt for past actions, made choices under duress that haunt her still. But she is also the reason my nephew Aiden lives. The reason we have exposed corruption that threatened both our territories. The reason we have a real chance at lasting peace. He paused, let his words settle. She is flawed, she is broken, and she is mine. Anyone who cannot accept that can leave now. No one left. Marcus pulled Cass close, publicly claiming her before his entire leadership pack, daring anyone to challenge his choice. Welcome home, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Eclipse Queen! The pack responded with howls, accepting their Alpha's mate because pack law demanded it, because Marcus had commanded it, because they trusted his judgment even when they did not understand his choice. Cass felt tears threatening. She blinked them back, nodded to the pack, let them see her, judge her, decide if she was worthy of the title their Alpha had given her. The dinner proceeded. Food and conversation and the comfortable chaos of pack life. Cass ate little, spoke less, but listened, learned, began to understand the community she had joined. Near the end, an older female approached, silver hair, kind eyes. She introduced herself as Helena, pack healer. I heard what you did, healing Aiden, using Eclipse Wolf abilities after years of suppression. That could not have been easy. It was necessary. Necessary and easy are rarely the same thing. Helena studied her with professional assessment. I would like to learn from you. Eclipse Wolf healing is different from standard shifter medicine. Having that knowledge could save lives in my practice. I would be honored to teach you. Excellent, because we have a clinic that needs a director. Small facility on pack lands. Treats routine injuries and illness, but it could be expanded, improved, turned into a real medical center serving the entire region. That sounds like my tribunal sentence. Helena smiled. Sometimes fate and justice align. The moon works in mysterious ways. After dinner, Marcus took Cass to see the clinic. Small building on the edge of Packlands. Basic equipment. Functional, but minimal. It could be so much more with proper resources. This is yours, Marcus said. If you want it. Build it however you need. Train whoever you want. My pack will support you. Provide supplies, personnel, funding, whatever it takes. Why are you doing this? Giving me everything I need to succeed? You should hate me. I do hate you. Part of me always will. For what happened to my family. But I also need you. And my wolf has chosen you. And maybe if you save more lives than you took, we both find some measure of peace. That is a lot of weight to put on one clinic. Then build it strong enough to carry the load. They stood together in the empty building. Two people bound by biology, connected by tragedy, trying to figure out if they could build a future from the wreckage of their pasts. Through the bond, Cass felt Marcus's emotions. Not love, not yet, but hope. Fragile, tentative. The first seeds of something that might grow if they both had courage. I will build the clinic, she said. I will serve your pack. I will try to atone for what I did. But I cannot promise it will be enough. None of us can promise enough. We can only promise to try. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. They walked back to his residence together. Mates bonded by necessity, partners by circumstance, and maybe someday, something more. But for tonight, trying was enough. The bond held, and that was everything. That first night in Ironwall, Cass could not sleep. She lay in her new quarters, staring at the ceiling, feeling the mate bond pulse with Marcus's emotions from 2 rooms away. He could not sleep either. She felt his restlessness, his mind churning through political implications and pack dynamics and the impossibility of their situation. Around midnight, her door opened quietly. Marcus stood in the threshold, still dressed, exhausted but unable to rest. I felt you awake, he said, through the bond. Thought you might want company, or I can go. Stay. He crossed to sit in the chair beside her bed, close but maintaining distance, both of them uncertain how to navigate this new reality. How are you handling it? Marcus asked. The pack acceptance, the title, all of it. I am terrified I will fail them, that I will make a mistake and prove I do not deserve the trust you are forcing them to give me. They are not giving you trust because I forced it. They are giving you a chance because you earned it. Saving Aiden, exposing Kane, those actions speak louder than my commands. Through the bond, Cass felt his sincerity. He genuinely believed she had earned her place, even while part of him still hated her for his family's deaths. Tell me about them, she said. Your mate, your daughter. I know their names from the trial records, Elena and Lydia, but I do not know who they were as people. Marcus was silent for so long she thought he would not answer. Then he began to speak, slowly, painfully, like lancing an old wound. Elena was a combat engineer, brilliant, fierce, absolutely terrified of spiders. She would face down enemy forces without flinching but scream if she found a spider in the shower. A soft laugh, memory breaking through grief. We met during military training. She was the only female in her unit, determined to prove herself. I was a young lieutenant trying to figure out what kind of leader I wanted to be. You loved her. For 15 years. She gave me Lydia, 8 years old, smart, funny, wanted to be a healer like her mother. His voice cracked. They were evacuated. Elena coordinated the civilian retreat. Intelligence said they were clear of the target zone. They should have been safe. But someone redirected them, put them in my kill zone deliberately. Yes, which means I spent 20 years hunting the wrong person. Hating you when I should have been hunting whoever weaponized you against my family. Cass sat up, reached for his hand. He let her take it. I am still responsible, she said. I pulled the trigger. That does not change. But you deserve to know you were not alone in being manipulated. We were both weapons someone else used. That does not make me feel better. It is not supposed to make you feel better. It is supposed to make you feel less alone in your grief. They sat in silence, hands clasped, bond humming between them. Two broken people sharing the weight of their histories. I do not know how to forgive you, Marcus said finally. For Elena, for Lydia, I do not think I ever can. I do not expect forgiveness. I do not deserve it. But I am starting to understand you were another casualty. That you carry those 40,000 deaths as much as I carry my two. And maybe we can find a way to live with our shared grief instead of letting it destroy us. Is that enough to build a bond on shared grief? I do not know. But it is what we have. He squeezed her hand. Sleep. Tomorrow we start building your clinic. Start building something that matters. He left. Cass lay back down. This time sleep came easier. Because she was not alone in her guilt anymore. Because Marcus understood. And understanding, even without forgiveness, was more than she had dared hope for. The next morning, Aiden appeared at breakfast with plans, literal architectural plans, blueprints for clinic expansion, supply lists, staffing proposals. He had stayed up all night designing a medical center that could serve thousands. You said you wanted to help, Cass said, looking at the detailed layouts. I am Ironwall 3rd Division's best logistics officer. Organizing complex systems is what I do. Aiden spread the plans across the table. This is your clinic, 3 buildings, main medical center, research laboratory, training facility. We can break ground next week if you approve the design. Cass studied the plans. They were good, better than good, brilliant. He had accounted for everything. Patient flow, supply management, emergency protocols, defensive positions in case the facility ever came under attack. This is extraordinary work. This is me saying thank you for saving my life. Aiden met her eyes, and me proving to Uncle Marcus that bonding with you was the right choice, that you can build something worthy of your abilities. Over the next weeks, the clinic took shape. Ironwall Pack members volunteered labor, builders, engineers, craftspeople, Opal who wanted to support their alpha's mate. Cass worked alongside them, learning names, hearing stories, beginning to understand the pack she had joined. Helena taught her about Ironwall medical practices, the herbs they used, the healing techniques. In return, Cass taught Eclipse Wolf methods, how to channel healing energy, how to read cellular damage, how to save patients normal medicine would write off as lost. Marcus visited the construction site daily, checking progress, providing resources. Watching Cass integrate into his pack with a satisfaction he tried to hide, but she felt through the bond. 1 month after the tribunal, the clinic opened. Small ceremony. Cass cut a ribbon. Marcus stood beside her. The pack howled approval. Her first patient was a young female. Pregnant, nervous, shifter pregnancy complicating. The kind of case that required Eclipse Wolf expertise. Cass examined her carefully, found the problem, fixed it, scheduled follow-up treatments. By end of first week, she had treated 37 patients. Word was spreading. Eclipse Wolf healer in Ironwall, capable of miracles. It was not miracles, just medicine. But to people who had been told their conditions were hopeless, it felt like divine intervention. 2 months after opening, Cass realized something had changed. She woke one morning, and the guilt was still there. The weight of 40,000 deaths. But it was no longer the only thing she felt. Now there was also purpose, belonging, the satisfaction of lives saved. She looked at herself in the mirror, saw the claiming bite scar on her shoulder, saw the Eclipse Queen who had somehow found a place in a pack she never thought would accept her. Through the bond, she felt Marcus wake 2 rooms away, felt his automatic check on her emotional state. His wolf ensuring mate was safe and content before he even opened his eyes. It had become routine, this checking, this constant low-level awareness of each other. The bond settling into something comfortable instead of fighting against it. Later that day, Marcus found her in the clinic. We need to talk, he said, about the bond, about us. Cass's heart sank. You found a way to break it. No, the opposite. He pulled her into her private office, closed the door. I talked to every expert I could find, consulted ancient texts, interviewed elder shifters who studied mate bonds. They all said the same thing. True mate bonds cannot be broken, ever. Attempting to sever one kills both wolves, so we are stuck with each other. We are bonded for life whether we want it or not. which means we need to decide what that actually means. Do we continue as reluctant partners, or do we try to build something real? Cass studied his face. What do you want? I want to stop pretending this is temporary. Stop lying to myself that I can keep you at distance. Stop fighting the fact that my wolf has chosen you, and no amount of human resistance will change that. He stepped closer. I want to try, actually try, to see if we can build a real partnership, maybe even love, eventually. You still hate me for your family. Part of me always will. But another part of me sees who you are now, what you are building, how you serve my pack. And that part wants to give this bond a real chance. Through their connection, Cass felt his sincerity, his hope, his willingness to be vulnerable despite decades of walls. I want to try too, she said. I am terrified it will fail, that I will disappoint you, that the bond will never be enough to overcome what I did, but I want to try. Then we try, together. No more separate quarters, no more pretending we are anything less than true mates. We commit to this bond and see where it leads. When? Now, tonight. Move into my quarters. Let the pack see we are united. Let ourselves believe this could actually work. Cass felt fear and hope warring in her chest. Okay, I will move tonight. Good. He kissed her. Gentle. Tentative. The kiss of two people choosing each other instead of being forced together. Welcome home, Eclipse Queen. For real this time. That night, Cassandra moved into Marcus's quarters. Not as a political necessity, not as biological imperative, but as a choice, a commitment to try building something real from the bond fate had forced on them. It would not be easy. Would take years. They would fight, struggle, have days where the past felt too heavy to carry, but they would try. Together, bonded, mates choosing to become partners. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. 6 months changed everything. Cassandra Morgrave stood at the window of her quarters in Ironwall Keep, watching the pack grounds below. Dawn was breaking over the mountains, painting the snow-covered peaks in shades of copper and gold. The same view she had woken to every morning since Marcus brought her home. Home. The word still felt strange, unfamiliar, but her wolf had accepted it immediately. This was packlands. This was mates' territory. This was where they belonged. Through the mate bond, she felt Marcus stirring 2 floors above in the Alpha's quarters. They still maintained separate rooms, still circled each other like wary predators, trying to figure out if they were partners or enemies. But the bond pulled them together regardless. Inexorable. Unavoidable. Biology did not care about their hesitation. Cass dressed quickly in the clothes Vera had helped her choose. Simple but quality. Practical for a healer, but fine enough for an Alpha's mate. The pack needed to see her as both. Doctor who saved lives. Luna who belonged at their king's side. She made her way down to the medical wing. Her clinic. The space Marcus had given her to fulfill her tribunal sentence. What had been a small outpost for basic pack medical care was now a full treatment center. Surgical suite, research laboratory, training rooms where she taught Eclipse Wolf healing techniques to pack medics, her sentence being served one patient at a time. Helena, the pack's senior healer, was already there. The older female had become Cass's closest ally over the months, teaching her pack dynamics, explaining Ironwall customs, helping her navigate the complicated politics of being a war criminal mated to an Alpha king. Morning, Doc. Helena looked up from reviewing patient charts. We have a full roster today, 15 scheduled appointments, probably 20 walk-ins, and Sarah is due for her weekly treatment. Sarah, the pregnant female with the phase-locked pup. Cass had been treating her for 3 months now, synchronizing the baby's shifting pattern with Sarah's wolf. Slow, delicate work. But it was working. The pup was stabilizing. How is she doing? Nervous. This is the last treatment before her due date. She wants you there for the delivery. Cass felt something twist in her chest. She had lost her own pregnancy 25 years ago. Miscarried at 12 weeks. Never tried again because war and prison and running did not leave room for children. Now she was helping other females carry pregnancies she would never have herself. It hurt. But it also felt right, like she was giving back what had been taken, balancing scales that would never truly balance. The morning passed in familiar rhythm. Examinations, minor surgeries, Sarah's treatment. The pregnant female's wolf finally synchronizing completely with her pup. The phase lock breaking. Mother and child both stable. Sarah cried with relief. hugged Cass hard enough to bruise even with shifter durability. Thank you, thank you. Without you, I would have lost her. You would have found another way, Cass said. But she felt Marcus's satisfaction through the bond, his pride at what she had accomplished. Through the bond, she sent back, "Stop spying on my work." His response came warm with barely hidden affection. "I am not spying. I am observing my mate doing what she does best. There is a difference. You are still a territorial alpha male who needs to know everything happening in his pack." Guilty. His amusement rippled through the connection. "Tribunal meeting is running long. I will be late for dinner. I will save you a plate." The casual domesticity of the exchange still surprised her. 6 months ago, they had been hunter and prey, enemies bound by biology. Now they traded mundane messages about dinner and schedules like an actual mated pair. It was terrifying how easily she had adapted, how quickly her wolf had accepted this life. Afternoon brought a crisis. Border Patrol brought in a young male, mauled by a rogue shifter who had tried to cross pack boundaries without permission. The damage was severe. Deep claw marks across his chest and abdomen, internal bleeding, his wolf struggling to heal injuries this extensive. Cass worked for 3 hours, silver light flowing from her hands. Eclipse Wolf abilities amplified by the mate bond. She could feel Marcus's alpha strength feeding into her power, making her healing stronger, more effective. The young male stabilized, would survive, would heal completely given time. When she finished, Cass was exhausted, drained. She had pushed her abilities harder than usual, used more power than was safe. Strong hands caught her before she could fall. Marcus. He had left his tribunal meeting when he felt her exhaustion through the bond. Crossed half the keep to reach her. "You pushed too hard again," he said. No anger in his voice, just resigned concern. "He was dying, I had to. You have staff, other healers. You do not have to carry every burden yourself. They cannot do what I do. Eclipse Wolf healing is different, more effective for critical injuries. If I had held back, he would have died." Marcus lifted her easily, carried her through the corridors toward her quarters. Pack members saw and made way, their alpha king carrying his exhausted mate. A common sight over the past months. "You will burn yourself out," he said quietly, "and then you will not be able to help anyone." "I know, but I cannot stop. If I stop, if I slow down, the guilt catches up. The memories, the faces of 40,000 dead." She felt his understanding through the bond. He carried his own guilt, his own impossible choices. Alpha King for 20 years. How many had died following his orders? How many sacrifices had he made in the name of duty? They were both trying to atone for the past by exhausting themselves in the present. He laid her on her bed, pulled off her boots, covered her with a blanket. "Rest. I will have food sent up." "Stay." The word was out before she could stop it. Vulnerable, needy, everything she had sworn not to be. Marcus hesitated. Then he sat on the edge of her bed. His hand found hers. "I am not going anywhere." Through the bond, Cass felt his emotions. Affection, growing, undeniable, carefully hidden behind layers of duty and discipline. But there. "When did you stop hating me?" she asked. He was quiet for a long moment. "I have not stopped. Part of me still hates you for what happened to Elena and Lydia. Probably always will. But I have also started seeing past that, seeing the woman who exhausts herself saving lives, who teaches others her gifts, who carries guilt like a physical weight. And that woman deserves better than my hate." What does she deserve? A chance. To build something new, to find peace, to maybe discover she is more than her worst act. Cass closed her eyes, felt tears threatening. "I do not know how to be loved. I have not been loved in decades." "Then we will figure it out together. Because I do not know how to love someone I should hate. We are both learning." He leaned down and kissed her. Gentle, tentative. The kiss of two people still navigating what they were to each other. When he pulled back, Cass felt something shift. A barrier coming down. A wall she had built to protect herself finally crumbling. "Stay with me tonight," she said. "Not just sitting on the bed, with me. Let me figure out what this feels like." "Are you sure?" "No, but I want to try anyway." That night, Cass moved into Marcus's quarters. Not permanently, just for the night. But it felt monumental anyway. They lay together in his massive bed. Close but not touching at first. The bond humming between them. "Tell me about her," Cass said into the darkness. "Elena, the one I killed." Marcus was silent for so long she thought he would not answer. Then he began to speak. "She was a combat engineer. Brilliant, fierce, absolutely terrified of spiders. A soft laugh. She would face down enemy forces without flinching, but scream if she saw a spider in the barracks. How did you meet? Military training. She was the only female in her engineering unit, determined to prove herself. I was a young officer trying to figure out what kind of leader I wanted to be. We bonded over mutual stubbornness. You loved her? Yes. For 15 years. She gave me Lydia, 8 years old, brilliant like her mother, wanted to be a healer. His voice went rough. They were evacuated. Elena helped coordinate the civilian retreat. Intelligence confirmed they were clear of the target zone. They should have been safe. But someone redirected them, put them in my kill zone deliberately. Yes. Which means I spent 20 years hating the wrong person. Hunting you when I should have been hunting whoever weaponized you against my family. Cass felt tears threatening. I'm sorry, I know it means nothing, but I am sorry. I know. I feel it through the bond, the guilt, the regret, the desperate wish you could change the past. It is one of the reasons I have stopped hating you. It is hard to hate someone whose pain mirrors your own. They were silent for long minutes, processing, grieving, accepting. Finally, Marcus spoke again. I do not expect you to replace Elena, or to be Lydia's mother retroactively. But maybe you can be something new, something we build together. I would like that. He pulled her close. She let him, rested her head against his chest, listened to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat through the mate bond. The weeks that followed fell into new patterns. Cass still maintained her separate quarters, still kept professional distance during the day. But most nights she ended up in Marcus's bed. Not always for sex, often just for closeness. For the comfort of the mate bond fully engaged. For sleeping beside someone who understood the weight of impossible choices. Her clinic continued to thrive. Word spread through neighboring territories. Shifters traveling days to see the Eclipse Wolf healer. The rare bloodline who could heal what others could not. Aiden became a permanent fixture in her research laboratory. The young wolf had made Eclipse Wolf toxin treatment his life's work. He had developed 3 new antitoxin compounds, tested them on tissue samples, preparing for clinical trials that could change everything. This could eliminate the bioweapon threat entirely, Aiden said one afternoon, his eyes bright with discovery. If we can neutralize Eclipse Wolf toxins reliably, they become useless as weapons. Do not get ahead of yourself. Tissue samples are not living shifters. We need years of testing. I know, but it is hope. Real hope that we can undo some of the damage. Cass studied him. This young wolf, who should have died, who had instead become a researcher dedicated to saving others. Your uncle is proud of you, even if he will never say it directly. He does not have to. I can feel it through you. The bond carries his emotions, his pride, his affection. Aiden grinned. You are good for him, you know. He has been alone for 20 years, locked in grief and duty. Now he actually smiles occasionally. That is because of you. We are not in love. Sure, keep telling yourself that. 3 months after moving into Marcus's quarters, the pack held a formal gathering. Traditional feast, all ranks invited. The kind of event where alliances were confirmed and status displayed. Cass attended at Marcus's side, wearing formal robes that marked her as his mate, Eclipse Queen. The title still felt surreal. The gathering hall was massive, 200 pack members, warriors and healers and craftspeople and families. The strength of Ironwall under one roof. Marcus stood and the hall went silent. Alpha command without even trying. 6 months ago, I brought a stranger to our pack. A war criminal. Someone who had done terrible things under terrible circumstances. I asked you to accept her as my mate, to give her a chance to prove herself through service. He paused. Let the weight of those words settle. In 6 months, she has saved 23 pack members from critical injuries. She has taught our healers techniques that will save countless more. She has dedicated herself to healing instead of hiding. She has earned her place among us. Cass felt her throat tighten. Through the bond, she felt Marcus's sincerity, his pride, his carefully hidden affection. Tonight, we formalize what biology has already decided. Cassandra Morgrave is not just my mate. She is your Luna, your healer, your Eclipse Queen. Anyone who cannot accept that can leave now. No one left. Marcus pulled Cass close, publicly claiming her, daring anyone to challenge his choice. Welcome home, Eclipse Queen. The pack responded with howls. Not aggressive, welcoming. Accepting their alpha's mate because he had chosen her. because pack law said the Alpha's judgment was absolute. But more than that, because she had proven herself through action, through saving their packmates, through teaching and serving and showing that she was more than her worst act. Cass felt tears threatening. She blinked them back, nodded to the pack. Let them see her, judge her, decide for themselves if she was worthy. The feast continued. Food and conversation and the comfortable chaos of pack life. Cass ate little, spoke less, but listened, learned, continued understanding the community she had joined. Near the end, an elderly male approached. Gray muzzle, kind eyes. He introduced himself as Garrett, former pack enforcer, retired now but still respected. I lost my mate 20 years ago, he said quietly, in the bioweapon attack. She was visiting family in coalition territory, wrong place, wrong time. Cass felt ice settle in her gut. I'm sorry. I know you are. I can smell the guilt on you, taste it in the air around you. Garrett met her eyes. But I also see what you have done since. The lives you have saved, the knowledge you have shared. My granddaughter would have died in childbirth last month. Faye's locked pup. You saved them both. That does not bring your mate back. No. But it means my granddaughter gets to watch her daughter grow. That matters. That is worth something. He extended his hand. I forgive you, for what it is worth. I choose to see who you are now instead of only what you did then. Cass took his hand, felt the weight of his forgiveness. It did not erase her guilt, did not balance the scales. But it was something, a small light in the darkness. After the feast, Marcus took her to see the Pack Memorial, stone monument carved with names, every Iron Wall member who died in the war. Elena Vane, Lydia Vane. He traced the letters with his fingers. 20 years I have come here, promised them justice, promised them revenge. And now? Now I am not sure what justice looks like anymore. The people who weaponized you, who deliberately targeted my family, they are still out there. Vera's investigation has uncovered a conspiracy that goes deeper than we imagined. Arms dealers, corrupt officials, people who have been profiting from conflict for decades. We will find them, Cass said. Together, make them answer for what they did. And when we do? When we finally have the people truly responsible, what then? Then you get the justice you were promised, the revenge you swore, and I get to know I helped destroy the people who used me as a weapon. Marcus looked at her. Will that be enough? Will revenge finally give us peace? I do not know, but we have to try. They stood together at the memorial. Two people bound by tragedy, learning to build something from the wreckage. 2 years after the mate bond formed, Cassandra stood in her clinic watching the morning shift arrive. The building had been expanded twice. Now it served not just Iron Wall but several neighboring packs, a true medical center specializing in complex shifter medicine. Her tribunal sentence was technically complete. She had fulfilled the required service hours, could request release from supervision. She chose to stay. This was her purpose now, her atonement, her life. Marcus found her during her lunch break, pulled her into his office, closed the door. I need to tell you something, he said. His expression was serious. Through the bond, she felt his nervousness. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. But I need to say this properly, without the bond making it easier. He took her hands. I love you. Not because biology forced us together, not because the mate bond makes it convenient, but because you are brave and stubborn and dedicated, because you carry impossible guilt with grace, because you make me better than I am alone. Cass felt tears forming. Marcus, I know we started this as a temporary necessity, a biological imperative neither of us wanted, but it has become more. You have become everything. And I need you to know that I choose this, choose you, choose us, not because I have to, but because I want to. I love you too, Cass said. The words felt strange, unfamiliar, but true. Even though you are bossy and overprotective and terrible at delegating, even though part of me will always carry guilt for what I did to your family, I love you. We are quite the pair. Yes, we are. He kissed her, deep, claiming. The kiss of a male who had finally accepted what his wolf had known from the beginning. This was mate. This was permanent. This was home. 5 years after the mate bond formed, major changes came to Ironwall. But the journey to those changes had not been smooth. The second year after bonding brought the hardest challenges. Winter had been brutal. Deep snows isolating outlying pack territories. Supply lines cut. sickness spreading through the smaller settlements. Cass had spent 3 months traveling between outposts, treating everything from frostbite to influenza to injuries from wolves driven desperate by hunger. She returned to Ironwall Keep exhausted, thinner, her Eclipse Wolf abilities drained from constant use. Marcus had been furious. Not at her, at himself for letting her go alone, for not providing better support. "You could have died out there," he said, his hands shaking as he checked her for injuries. "The bond. I felt you struggling, felt your exhaustion, but I was trapped in treaty negotiations, could not leave. The pack needed me. Those wolves would have died without treatment, and you nearly died providing it. Do you understand what that would have done to me? To lose you after finally accepting that I need you?" It was the first time he had admitted it out loud, that she was not just a biological necessity, that he actually needed her beyond the mate bond's demands. Cass had pulled him close, let him hold her, let him feel through the bond that she was alive, safe, home. After that, he assigned her a permanent medical team. 6 healers trained in Eclipse Wolf techniques. They traveled with her on every outpost visit, shared the burden, protected her from her own tendency to sacrifice everything for her patients. It helped. But more than that, it showed the pack that their alpha valued his Luna. That Cassandra was not just Marcus's mate, she was Ironwall's Eclipse Queen, worth protecting, worth supporting. The 3rd year brought political challenges. Coalition delegates demanded Cass's extradition, wanted her tried again under new evidence standards, claimed the original trial had been corrupted. It was political maneuvering, an attempt to weaken Ironwall by attacking its Luna. Marcus had shut it down with brutal efficiency, reminded coalition leadership that Cass was under treaty protection as his bonded mate, that any attempt to take her would be considered an act of war, that he had fulfilled his obligation to peace, but would burn the world down before letting anyone harm his mate. The delegates backed off, but the message had been clear. Cass would always be a political target, a weakness others could exploit. She had told Marcus she would leave, go into exile, remove the threat. He had looked at her like she was insane. "You are not leaving. You are not a weakness. You are the strongest person I know, and anyone who tries to use you against me will learn exactly why I am Alpha King." His wolf had been in his eyes, protective, possessive, absolutely certain. Through the bond, she felt his conviction. She was pack. She was mate. She was his. And he protected what was his with lethal efficiency. The 4th year brought medical breakthroughs. Aiden's research progressed beyond anyone's expectations. Not just antitoxins, but actual treatments for genetic conditions that had plagued shifters for centuries. He developed a therapy for weak shift syndrome, the condition where young wolves could not complete transformations, could not access their animal forms. 23 young wolves went through his treatment. 21 succeeded, could shift for the first time in their lives. The pack celebrated like they had won a war. Cass had cried watching those young wolves run on 4 legs, experiencing their animal forms after years of being trapped in human skin. It felt like redemption in reverse, giving wolves the freedom she had suppressed in herself for so long. Through all of it, the mate bond deepened. What had started as biological necessity became genuine partnership. They learned each other's patterns. Marcus's tendency to take on too much responsibility, Cass's habit of using work to avoid emotions. They learned to call each other out, to support instead of enabling. Fights happened, spectacular ones. Alpha and Eclipse Wolf both stubborn to the point of stupidity, but they always came back to the bond, to the fundamental truth that they were better together than apart. Now 5 years after that first forced claiming, they stood on stable ground. Aiden's research had progressed to clinical trials. His Eclipse Wolf antitoxin had proven 92% effective in neutralizing bioweapons. The compound was being distributed across territories, saving lives, preventing attacks. More than that, his work had opened entire new fields of shifter medicine, treatments for conditions previously considered incurable. He had been offered positions at prestigious research facilities across both territories, turned them all down, chose to stay in Ironwall, working from the clinic Cass had built, training the next generation of researchers. "This is Pack," he told Cass when she asked why. "This is home. Why would I leave?" Vera's investigation had finally reached its conclusion. 5 years of digging, following money trails, building cases. The conspiracy she uncovered was staggering in its scope. Director Kane had been just one player in a network spanning decades. Arms manufacturers who profited from war, politicians who used conflict to maintain power, bureaucrats who skimmed money from military budgets. The full network involved 63 people across both coalition and Iron Wall governments, some in positions of significant authority. The trials took 8 months, public sessions, evidence meticulously presented, justice delivered through legal process instead of assassination. 37 conspirators were convicted on primary charges, another 26 on lesser charges. Sentences ranged from life imprisonment to forced exile to public disgrace and financial ruin. The corruption network that had survived 3 decades was finally dismantled. Cass testified at the trials, explained how her research had been weaponized, how her blood samples had been used without consent, how the Eclipse Wolf toxin had been perverted into an instrument of profit instead of defense. The media coverage was extensive. Images of the Eclipse Queen explaining the science while her alpha kingmates sat in the gallery, protective, supportive, daring anyone to question her testimony. It changed public perception. She was no longer just the war criminal who had deployed the weapon. She was the scientist who had been exploited, the healer who had spent 5 years atoning, the Luna who served her pack with dedication. Not forgiven, not fully, but seen as more than her worst act. The verdict about who specifically ordered Marcus's family into the kill zone remained unclear. The conspiracy was too vast, too many people involved, too many layers of command. But they found evidence that it had been deliberate, that Elena and Lydia Vane had been specifically targeted. Not random casualties. Calculated murders designed to break the rising alpha who threatened corrupt power structures. Someone had studied Marcus, identified his mate and daughter as his weakness, arranged for them to be in the bioweapon kill zone, used Cass as the unwitting weapon. The discovery changed everything. Marcus stood at the Pack Memorial, same as he had for 20 years, but his expression was different. The rage had burned out, replaced by cold clarity. "They used you against me," he said, "and they used my family against both of us. We were all just pieces in their game." "Does that help?" Cass asked, "knowing it was calculated?" "It helps me understand that hating you was exactly what they wanted. Hunting you, letting grief consume me. All of it played into their strategy. They wanted me broken, ineffective, too focused on revenge to threaten their profits. And now? Now I am focused on building instead of destroying. On you, on our pack, on Aiden's work, on everything they tried to prevent." He looked at her. "You were never my enemy. You were their victim just like Elena and Lydia. I am sorry it took me so long to see that. You had every right to hate me. I would have hated me. Maybe. But I choose not to anymore. I choose to see who you are now. What we have built together. That matters more than what they made you do." Cass felt tears threatening. After 5 years, his forgiveness still felt undeserved, but his certainty through the bond was absolute. He had chosen her, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. The pack formal gathering that night was different from the one 2 years ago. Then, it had been acceptance. Acknowledgement that she was Marcus's mate. Tonight was celebration, recognition of everything she had accomplished. The hall was packed, not just Ironwall wolves, but representatives from neighboring packs, coalition delegates, even a few former enemies. Marcus stood and the room went silent. "5 years ago, I brought a stranger to our pack. Tonight, I present our Eclipse Queen, not as a stranger, but as pack, as family, as the wolf who has saved more lives than we can count, who has taught us gifts we did not know we needed, who has proven that redemption is possible through dedicated service." He pulled Cass forward. She was wearing formal robes that marked her as Luna, eclipse symbols embroidered in silver thread, the claiming bite scar visible on her shoulder. "Cassandra Morgrave has fulfilled her tribunal sentence, served her required time. She is free to leave if she chooses, free to go anywhere in Coalition or Ironwall territory without restriction." The room went still, every wolf understanding what he was offering. Freedom, release from obligation. "But I am asking her to stay, not because she has to, but because we need her, because she is pack, because this is her home." He turned to Cass. "What do you say, Eclipse Queen? Will you stay with us?" Through the bond, Cass felt his emotions. Love, hope, the terrible fear that she would choose to leave despite everything. She met his eyes. "I am not going anywhere. This is home. You are home. The pack is home. I choose to stay. The hall erupted in howls. Celebration. Relief. Their Luna choosing them just as they had chosen her. Marcus pulled her into a kiss. Deep. Claiming. Public display of affection from an alpha who normally kept emotions private. Through the bond she felt his relief, his joy, his absolute certainty that this was right. The feast that followed was the largest Ironwall had ever held. 5 years of small victories celebrated. 5 years of building trust acknowledged. Garrett approached Cass during the celebration. The elderly male who had lost his mate in the bioweapon attack. "My great-granddaughter was born last week," he said. "Sarah's daughter had a daughter. 3 generations alive because you saved Sarah's first pregnancy. I'm glad they are well. More than well, thriving, because of you." He paused. "I told you 2 years ago that I forgave you. Tonight I want to thank you, for staying, for serving, for being the healer our pack needed. I'm just trying to atone." "No, you are building a legacy, creating something bigger than guilt. That is different, better." After the feast, Marcus took Cass to the highest point in Ironwall Keep, a tower overlooking Packlands, the place where alphas went to think, to plan, to see their territory spread below them. "I have been thinking about legacy," he said, "about what we leave behind when we are gone. That is morbid. That is practical. We could live another 50 years, or die tomorrow. The point is, we need to think about what comes after us." "What are you proposing?" "A foundation. The Eclipse Institute, dedicated to shifter medical research, funded by both territories, focused on healing instead of weapons, led by Aiden initially, then passed to the next generation of researchers. Our combined legacy." Cass felt her throat tighten. "You have been planning this for months. I wanted to wait until you chose to stay before proposing it. Did not want you to feel obligated. It is a good idea, a way to transform what was used for destruction into something that creates." "Exactly. Your research, my resources, Aiden's brilliance, all combined to save lives for decades after we are gone." "The Eclipse Institute," Cass repeated. "I like it. Then we start building tomorrow." They stood together overlooking Ironwall. 2 people who had survived impossible circumstances, who had built something real and lasting from tragedy. The moon rose full and bright, calling to every wolf. Through the pack bonds, Cass felt the pull, the ancient urge to shift and run under moonlight. Marcus felt it too, his wolf rising. "Run with me," he said. "Show the pack their Luna. Show them the Eclipse Queen who chose to stay." Cass shifted, her silver-white wolf emerging. 5 years of regular shifting had strengthened her form. She was faster now, more confident in her animal skin. Marcus shifted beside her, his massive black and silver form. Alpha King. They ran together through Ironwall territory, not alone. The entire pack joined them. 200 wolves moving as one cohesive unit. This was what Cass had never had before. Pack. True belonging. Wolves who had seen her at her worst and chosen to keep her anyway. They ran until dawn, until exhaustion and contentment brought them home. Marcus shifted back to human first, helped Cass shift. They were both covered in sweat and dirt and completely happy. "Thank you," Cass said quietly, "for giving me this, for choosing me despite everything. Thank you for being brave enough to stay, for loving me despite my stubbornness. We are quite the pair." "Yes, we are, and I would not change anything." The sun rose over Ironwall, a new day beginning, full of possibility. Cassandra Morgrave, Eclipse Queen, stood beside her mate and watched the dawn. She had been a weapon, a prisoner, a fugitive, a war criminal carrying 40,000 deaths. Now she was a healer, a teacher, a Luna, a mate to an Alpha King who loved her. The transformation had taken 5 years. 5 years of proving herself through service. 5 years of choosing to build instead of hide. Every patient saved, every student taught, every small moment of peace earned through hard work. All of it leading here, to this moment, to this pack, to this life. The guilt would never fully lift. Some scars were permanent, but she had love, purpose, pack, home, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. That evening, Cass and Marcus hosted a small dinner. Just pack leadership. Aiden, Vera, Helena, Garrett and his granddaughter Sarah, who now had a healthy 2-year-old daughter. They ate together, shared stories, celebrated small victories, the kind of quiet evening that meant more than grand gestures. After dinner, Marcus pulled Cass onto the balcony, the same balcony where they had stood 2 years ago, where he had first admitted he loved her. "I have been thinking," he said, "about legacy, about what we leave behind when we are gone. That is morbid. That is practical. I am 58. You are 52. We are both shifters with extended lifespans. We could live another 50 years. Or we could die tomorrow in battle. The point is, we need to think about what comes after. What are you proposing? A foundation, dedicated to Eclipse Wolf research, funded by both Coalition and Ironwall, focused on healing instead of weapons, led by Aiden when we are gone. Our combined legacy, not the war, not the deaths, but the lives saved, the knowledge shared, the healing that came from our bond. Cass felt her throat tighten. That is actually a good idea. I have them occasionally. Do not let it go to your head. He pulled her close. She let him, rested against his chest, felt his heartbeat through the mate bond. 5 years ago they had been enemies, hunter and prey, war criminal and alpha king seeking revenge. Now they were partners, mates, two people who had chosen each other despite every reason not to. It was not a fairy tale ending. There were no magical solutions to trauma, no easy absolution for past sins. The guilt would always be there, the grief, the scars that would never fully fade. But they had each other, and a pack who had accepted them, and a purpose that mattered, and a future that held more than just guilt. Through the mate bond, Cass felt Marcus's love, deep, unshakable, hard-earned over 5 years of learning to trust, of choosing partnership over hate. She sent back her own emotions. Love, gratitude, the tentative hope that maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to be happy despite everything she had done. I am glad I found you, Marcus said quietly. Even though it took 20 years, even though we started as enemies, I am glad biology forced us together, because I would never have chosen this on my own, and I would have missed everything we have become. I am glad too, even though I am still terrified of being happy. Even though I still wake up some mornings expecting this to be taken away, I am glad. It is not going to be taken away. The bond is permanent. We are permanent. This is our life now. I am still getting used to that. Take your time. We have the rest of our lives to figure it out. They stood together on the balcony. Two people who had survived the impossible, who had found each other in the worst circumstances, who had built something real and lasting from the wreckage. The moon rose over Ironwall, full and bright, the kind of moon that called to every wolf. Through the pack bonds, Cass felt the pull, the urge to shift, to run with the pack under moonlight. Marcus felt it too. Through their mate bond, she felt his wolf rising. Run with me, he said. Let me show you Packlands properly, not as a prisoner, not as someone fulfilling a sentence, but as my mate, my Luna, my Eclipse Queen. Cass shifted, her silver-white wolf emerging, smaller than Marcus's massive black and silver form, but perfect, built for speed where he was built for power. They ran together through Ironwall territory, Alpha King and Eclipse Queen, through forests and over mountains, their pack running with them, 200 wolves moving as one. This was pack, this was belonging, this was home. Cass had spent 20 years alone, 20 years carrying guilt and running from the past, 20 years believing she did not deserve peace or happiness or love. But here, running beside her mate through lands that had accepted her, she felt something she had not felt in decades. Hope, not the fragile, desperate hope of someone clinging to survival, but solid, real hope built on 5 years of proving herself, 5 years of saving lives, 5 years of being more than her worst act. The math would never balance. 40,000 deaths could never be erased by a few thousand lives saved, but she was trying. Every day, every patient, every student taught, every small moment of healing instead of hurting. And that had to be enough, because it was all she had, all anyone had. The choice to keep trying, to keep building, to keep choosing life even when guilt and grief made death seem easier. Marcus's wolf pressed against hers as they ran, a silent reminder through the bond. You are not alone, not anymore. We carry this weight together. They ran until dawn painted the mountains gold, until the pack began returning to human form, until exhaustion and contentment finally brought them home. Home, to Ironwall, to their quarters, to the life they had built from impossibility. Cass shifted back to human, stood beside Marcus on the balcony overlooking Packlands. Thank you, she said quietly, for giving me this, for choosing me despite everything, for believing I could be more than what I did. Thank you for proving me right, for being brave enough to try, for loving me despite my stubbornness. We are quite the pair. Yes, we are, and I would not change a single thing. The sun rose over Ironwall. A new day beginning, full of possibility, full of purpose, full of the quiet hope that came from surviving the impossible and building something beautiful from the ruins. Cassandra Morgrave, Eclipse Queen of Ironwall, stood beside her mate and watched the dawn. She had been a weapon, a prisoner, a fugitive. Now she was a healer, a teacher, a Luna. The transformation had not been easy. Had taken 5 years of proving herself, 5 years of choosing to serve instead of hide. But it had been worth it. Every patient saved, every student taught, every small moment of peace earned through hard work. All of it worth it, because this was her life now, her purpose, her home, and she was finally, after 20 years of running, allowed to be happy. The guilt would never fully lift. The grief would never completely fade. Some scars were permanent. But she had love. She had purpose. She had a pack who had accepted her. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. END.